And we are live again. Episode 41, what you focus on expands. And this show is all about shifting the focus from what doesn't work to the things that actually do work, which is helpful, especially in business. Today's topic is going to be about business. And I have the absolute pleasure to have with me the business magician, Jason Chessar. And I've known him for many years. We're in the same tribe of trainers, Blair Singer Training Academy. And can you please introduce yourself to the audience, Jason?
Excellent. Well, thank you. First off, it is a pleasure being here. It's always I always love working with you and all the great stuff you're doing. As mentioned, I'm a bit of a business magician, and the background. You mind if I just tell a quick story about where I come from? Would that be okay?
Of course.
Excellent. It's funny because reason why you mentioned business magician. What most people don't know about me is as a child, I was actually deaf, couldn't hear, couldn't speak, had a severe speech lisp, social anxiety through the roof. And so I fell in love with magic, card tricks and stuff, and became a master magician for over 20 years. I performed for Justin Bieber, Lennox Lewis, Bill Kazmaier, Olympians, Fortune 500 companies. We had a national entertainment agency, magicians, jugglers, unicyclers, fire performers, aerial silk artists, etc. And naturally progressed using the psychology of magic and understanding, how to really create that experience for people. Naturally progressed into business and into coaching and working with companies all around the world. And so I love that comment that you gave me of the business magician. I love that tagline.
Yeah, that's funny because I came up with that myself because I know you're a magician and you work with teams in business and sales. So I figured business magician, and you actually confirmed it. So that's a sign, Jason. So can you tell me again, you said you were born deaf or hard of hearing when you were?
Yeah, when I was young, I had some ear issues. Had about maybe 10 to 20% of my hearing when I was young. Up until about 5 years old, they identified it at 5. By then, the damage was done. Severe lisp, stutter, social anxiety, that sort of thing. Took about 10 years of speech therapy and about a dozen surgeries on my ears just to correct it. And so it wasn't until I was 17 that I actually started speaking and talking to people. I could talk earlier than that, but not very many people could understand me. So it took a long time to get that speech therapy going properly. That's where the magic came in. My R's and S's, red card, pick a 7 of spades, that sort of idea. So having a script for magic helped me a lot for rehabilitation.
Right. And now you're moved from, you're still doing the magic stuff, but you moved into business training, coaching, and teams.
Yeah. Right? That is correct. Yeah, last 5 years, I've been working with Fortune 500 companies, smaller and larger groups, individuals, organizations all around the world. It was one of those things that when I built my net agency and I started teaching artists of all people how to network and how to do sales. And in 3 months, we had a 3-month challenge with our team. And that's when we got in front of a guy like Justin Bieber. As soon as people started seeing how quickly and how effectively our strategies worked, other businesses started coming to us and going, well, how are you doing that? And so before I knew it, I actually had more clients working with business owners than I did as an artist. And so it was when my son was being born, it was a natural choice to make that shift.
Move into the business segment.
Yeah.
All right. So what did you bring to this show today to share with our audience, Jason? And by the way, if you're watching this live and you have any questions to Jason or myself, please put them in the comments and we'll be happy to answer.
Yes, I love comments. I love questions. Biggest thing I want to share is, because it's funny, even as a magician, I was known as the honest magician, right? Meaning I'm not going to cheat. I'm not going to lie. I'm telling you I'm a magician, so I'm going to do some stuff, right? But the whole idea, the whole goal or purpose as a magician wasn't to trick you. It was to create an experience. Not only to create an experience, but the ideal scenario was something that you would remember for years to come or tell your grandkids about, right? My ultimate goal was to make it 3 generations. That was always my goal. But when you think of business, or specifically that taboo word of sales, unfortunately, there's such a negative connotation to sales. I believe it's very, very similar in the way it's not about me selling you. It's not about me convincing you or tricking you to buy what it is I offer. It's about truly finding out what it is you want and need, and then being able to provide the experience of solving your problem. And if I truly understand your challenge, your obstacle, the thing that's causing you to lose sleep at night, and I can provide a solution, now that's something you're going to go tell your friends and family about and talk about me to people on my behalf without me ever even having to ask.
Nice. I love that. So it's not about convincing or tricking or pulling people across the table or anything like that, but it's more about creating an experience of the solution.
Yes. Reverse that selling process.
Relief, and they will feel at peace, and they will feel like they're taken care of.
Yes.
Nice. I love that analogy. Yeah, that's true. Sales is like that.
Well, I always use the term reverse the selling process, because the idea of selling, when you think of selling, it's me selling you. But that's not really how selling works. The real reality is if I find out what you want and need, and you see that there's a solution and I can offer you the solution, you're going to buy, not me sell. If I have a fit for you, I will make you an offer. I will show you what's available. But really, the choice is yours, not mine. Because if you have buyer's remorse, if I convince you, if I any of that, that's just going to hurt me long term. So really, it's just about giving you your options, showing you what's available, and making the decision easy for you. And if you choose me, awesome. If you don't, at least now you know, and you have the clarity, and you can still share the experience we've had together.
Yes, I love it. Let people buy from you rather than you sell to them.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a specific strategy or something that step by step you would like to share that can be useful for our audience? Talking about sales, especially?
Sure. Well, being that we're in the same world, Blair Singer being my personal mentor and philosophy of where I come from, I'll reference off something that he shared, and then I'll expand on it from a magician standpoint. Mm-hmm. So, as you know, for example of a sales cycle, because for every one of us, we have a sales process. The challenge is, first off, any amateur salesperson or someone new to business tends to not even know what their cycle is. The cycle, they think, is just sell a product, right? We both don't know that's not really the case, though. So if we use an example of, say, like a 5-step sales cycle, the first step, the very basic bones, is pick up the phone and call someone, right? And when you call them, the second step is that they answer. Now, the whole purpose of me picking up that phone and making the call is one step at a time. The whole purpose of picking up the phone is just so you answer. And if I break this step down in a step-by-step process, now I can really do things on purpose rather than hoping I'm just going to get the sale. Because if I start looking at, out of all the calls I make, how many people actually answer the phone? Now I can start asking questions like, well, if people answering is very low, am I calling at the right time? Am I calling the right people? Is calling even the right method? Maybe I should be using WhatsApp, a messenger, a text message, or email, right? How many people actually pick up the phone? And if they're not answering, that tells me something. Once I get them on the phone, though, and this is the real key, and I know you've heard this before, once I get them on the phone, it's not about selling them. It's about doing discovering what their wants and what their needs are, being interested in them, not trying to be interesting and show a really cool product. In fact, I wouldn't even mention the product. I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions to learn about you.
Yeah, make it all about them, not about you. Yes, 100%. And I love that, what you said, breaking it down into steps. And you even talked about micro steps, okay, so what's the next thing? What's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? And analyze, get the feedback. Okay, feedback is nobody's picking up. So what do you need to do? You need to adjust and correct and continue and correct and continue.
Got it.
Thank you. Christelle Pio says one step at a time. I like that. Thank you, Christelle, for watching. Okay.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us. It's interesting, though, because I've worked, some of my clients are Rich Dad Advisors to Robert Kiyosaki. I have other clients, they could have upwards of 100, 150 staff, and I get to work with their sales teams. And often, usually when I work with someone, I put a guarantee on my results that I'll either increase your sales by 15 to 32%. That's typically my averages in 12 weeks or less, or it's free. Like I have no problem guaranteeing my service. And when I look at someone's sales cycle, it's that one step at a time comment. That's exactly why I can put a guarantee on it. Because often when I look at the steps they're taking, there's a step they're missing, or that they're not missing, but they're not tracking. And I can see clear as day, once you expand the numbers, it's like Robert Kiyosaki says, the numbers tell you a story. What story are your numbers telling you? And as soon as you expand that cycle and you start breaking it down, you can very quickly see where's the break in the gap. And if you can fix that gap, it's not just get me more leads, get me more leads, get me more leads, or improve my close. Yes, obviously improving your close is going to help you, but often there's a step in between those two that is broken. And then if you fix that, it's instant. It's almost instantaneous for results.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you're taking it kind of apart. So if they're saying, okay, they're doing phone calls and they're not converting clients, whatever. So you're like, okay, what exactly do you do step by step by step by step, and break it down into these pieces so then you can assess what's missing in between. Love that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what's the analogy to magic that you promised us?
Perfect. I was just thinking that myself. So great question. In magic, so it was interesting because I would be hired in different settings. And believe it or not, as a magician, you would think my main job was to entertain, right? You would think that would be the main purpose. In reality, that wasn't always the case.
I didn't get that acoustically. What did you say?
Most people would think as a magician, if I came to a wedding, for example, that my job is to entertain.
Oh, right. Entertain.
Yeah, it's not.
Oh, okay.
In most cases, the byproduct, the outcome was a really great experience or entertainment. But the purpose at a wedding, for example, could have been to keep Uncle John busy from telling all of his really bad jokes. Or it was to take two families who don't know each other and bring them together and give them something to talk about and get them interacting. Or we have very not so social individuals, and then we have other people who are way too social thanks to liquid courage. My job would be often prior, my real job when I'm speaking to the bride prior to their special day is to find out exactly what their fear is on that day during the reception, and then go and solve that. And so if I know that my job is to, for example, most often it was take the bride and the groom's family and introduce them to each other, give them something to talk about so that they intermingle, not just stay separated. Right. And it's funny because at a wedding, it's a lot like a high school dance. You know, the guys are over here, the girls are over here. It's very similar. So my job was to go down the middle and pull people in and give them something to talk about. So if I know that, now the whole way I approach it as a magician is different. Step one, I need to be able to just get a couple people from group A and a couple people from group B to meet me in the middle. How am I going to do that? Well, usually it's with my comments. Usually it was by starting and asking questions, interacting with them a bit. It's not coming up and just blowing the mind saying, here, see a card trick, trying to shove cards in people's faces, because that turns them off really quick and they put up a wall. But if you think about sales, it's the same thing. Ever had someone who joined an MLM, for example? They can be great. They can be bad at the same time. Depends on the individual, depends on the organization. But ever had someone join an MLM and all of a sudden all they talk about is this fancy product, and it's just like you just get sick of being around them because they're just trying to shove sales down your throat.
Yes.
So that's how I kind of relate it to magic. Magic, it was about first step was to break the ice. Second step was to bring people together. Third step was then to create an experience or create an opportunity for the experience. And then the fourth step was to leave them with a lasting experience, something they would never forget. And then after I leave, would give that group to interact and discuss. That way they can start building their friendships. So my goal really was to create opportunities for that.
Right. So let me rephrase that. So you said step one is identify the problem.
Yep.
As a magician, so the two families not talking to each other.
Yeah.
So then step two would
then be starting to bring people together. You got to, after you identify the problem, you now have to set the stage or the context to be able to provide the solution. So in the case of a wedding, it would be identifying how to bring two groups together. Right.
Okay. And the same with sales. Sales, you identify a problem and then set the context for people to understand the solution. Yeah. All right. And then number three will be?
Number three is you start to create that trust and bond through as a magician, it was through conversation, but also through a bit of a small performance, just to earn their trust and find out what they're interested in and find out what type of entertainment they like. Some people, they want to be the center of the stage. Other people, they want me to be the center of the stage. Right? So you have to really understand your audience's wants and needs and what type of audience you really have. Right. Or in sales, it's finding out what people want and need and what their problem really is.
Right. And it's not about having a cookie cutter solution for everything. That would be a different type of magician that we're talking about. So someone who just says, I have 5 tricks, I'm going to do them wherever, and I don't care who's in the audience, I'm just going to do those. Same with the sales. Yeah. If you're a cookie cutter salesperson and you just do your 5 steps, this is what I do, and here's my solution. I have one solution, and if it doesn't fit you, it doesn't fit you, then nice. And was there a step 4? I think there was a step 4. What was step 4?
Well, step 4 is then create the experience, lay out the opportunity for the experience. Right. Just because you approach a group in Magic, just because you build that start to interact with people and engage with people, doesn't necessarily mean they want to see anything. Like you said, it's whenever I walked up to an audience, I never had that. It's that cookie cutter philosophy, right? I had 3 or 4 sets. I had upwards of 50 effects I could do at any given time at the drop of a hat, and they had a set of routines. But which routine I did for you, I didn't know until after I talked to you. So it would be interact, engage, build that trust, and then ask, would you like to see something? And what I would offer would be based on what you were interested in. Well, same goes for sales. Once you've created that trust and that bond, step 4 is to create an opportunity to offer that solution.
Nice. Now I totally see it.
Yeah. And if they say no, don't be afraid to walk away. Don't be offended. It's not a big deal. No, I think I'm okay right now. Well, thank you. And then go back into the discovery phase or exit the conversation.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. It's not about taking people down. It's just about offering opportunities. If they want it, good. If they don't want it, also good. Next.
Last, ask for the sale. Because if you create the opportunity, then this is the part. It's funny because everybody sees the sale as the hardest part. Just like in Magic, you would think the performance was the hardest part, but it was actually building the relationship prior to that. So in step 5 is actually ask. After you present the opportunity and you present the solution or the options that they have available, and they now have a chance to think it through, the 5th and final step is you've got to ask. Now, the interesting thing I always found about sales is everybody always thinks sales is telling or this big, long pitch, when really it's one simple question. Right?
Which is?
Be, for example, what do you think of this? Do you think this would solve your problems?
Oh, right. The end question that leads to the famous close that everybody's dreading so much. Oh my God, I have to ask for money now. What's going to happen? Oh my God.
So I used to always have a script of them. Like, how does this sound to you? Was it a very soft close?
Right.
Does this sound like something you want to move forward in? A harder one would be, so here's the options. When would you like to get started? Right. Would you like to pay for that with cash or credit card? So
one of my coaches, Taki, he uses the phrase, where do you think we should go from here?
Yes, perfect. I like that one.
Very nice because it's like leaving things open. It's not push, it's pull. So that's working well.
One I've been a fan of, I think it comes from the book, Exactly What to Say. I could be wrong about that. It's very similar by Philip M. Jones. Great book, all about magic words. Hence why I like it. But I believe his is, what's the logical next step for you?
Ah, nice. What's the name of that book? Can you show that?
Exactly What to Say by Philip M. Jones.
Exactly what? It's a sales book?
Yes. Well, it's a word book, a magic words book. So there's 21 or so 23 phrases actually that you can use, that it's all about getting very specific on the words you use. Because that goes back again on magic, is the way we presented the words we used were all on purpose to guide you down a path or guide you down an experience. Well, in sales, it's the same thing. If you use words wrong, you're using them against yourself. Yeah. Like, for example, if you have a fear of selling to someone, then everything you're going to plant in their mind and in their subconscious will be everything about why not to buy, why not to buy, why not to buy. You do it very subtly. Without
so a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
Is that spelled correctly? Philip M. Jones?
I don't see. M. Jones. Yes, it is. Oh, Phil M. Jones. My apologies.
Phil.
I was saying Philip. I read it wrong. But yeah, Phil M. Jones. Phenomenal book. Exactly what to say. And here's another book. I haven't read that one yet, but I've heard a lot of great things about it. But this book, even though it's the smallest read I think I've had in a while, is a book that never leaves my table. Nice. I'll often pull it up and take a look at it.
Philip M. Jones. All right. So if you have any questions to the magician, the business magician, the sales magician, put them in the comments now. And otherwise, we're going to just wrap this up. So what's your favorite quote when it comes to selling? Do you have one, Jason? Let's end with that.
When it comes to selling, favorite quote.
A favorite quote.
I wouldn't say I have a favorite quote per se. I'm sure one will come out of it though. But one of my favorite philosophies is my job is not to sell. My job is to open up the opportunity for you to make a decision.
Ah, nice. That's your own quote.
Yeah, something along those lines. It's a collection from a few different people that I've read, but that's kind of always been my guiding principle is my job is not to sell you. It's to really just find out what your wants and needs and to make it easy for you to make a decision. Lay out the path, as you would say, build the path, and then you get to choose. Are you going to go left? Or are you going to go right?
So what you said before, I liked. You said it's to create an opportunity for you to choose.
Yes, my job is not to sell you. My job is to create the opportunity for you to make the decision.
Nice. Love that.
It's all very subtle ways just to change the way you think of sales.
Yes.
Change it from selling to service.
What I love is the one that Blair taught us. It's like sales is easy. It's just find out what people want and then give it to them. And then building for it.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right, cool. Wow, it was a very, very enlightening and fun session. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you for having me.
More about how you work, and no wonder you're very successful. Totally see the analogy of your magician and sales skills. So that's cool.
Awesome.
So I'm looking forward to seeing more of your stuff, and let's do some more projects together. It looks like fun.
As always, I appreciate it. And just the work you're doing is absolutely amazing. I hope your audience has been capitalizing and taking advantage of all that incredible value you're putting out there. I love your videos. I love what you've been doing. And yeah, I would love to continue to work together and see what kind of projects we can create.
Yeah, let's do that. Projects on sales. The magic sales cycle.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you for watching. And yes,
right.
This is the last show this year, but I will see you in the summit with Blair Singer on November 13th.
Sounds good.
Join us, Shifting the Business Paradigm, where it's going to be all about mind-boggling experiences and different perspectives and different ways of looking at the pieces of business.
Ooh. That sounds like a great experience. I look forward to it.
Bye.
See you.
See you.